Hey everybody, John Wright, Director of Public Relations for Hardin County Schools. We're here at Central Hardin High School for this edition of HCS Matters. Dana Garrett, a social studies teacher here, and Ms. Garrett presented to the Board of Education recently about project-based learning and its benefits in the classroom. And so tell us what we're going to see today in your classroom.
All right, so today you're going to see students we're at the halfway point of our project to kind of reflect on how well they think they have done in being active and participating in their group. So we're going to do a little bit of self-reflection, and then we're going to do our second part of our project, which is looking at citizens' roles in the lawmaking process, because that's what this unit has been about. So they will kind of read through an article, make connections to it, and then figure out how they're going to apply this back to their group project.
If we were not doing this project-based learning initiative, how would you approach this versus how you're approaching it now?
Notes. This traditionally would have been some notes about ways.
So sit and get.
Sit and get, exactly. Which historically has like a socialized classroom has been, good, bad, or otherwise, which there's definitely some value to that. But this makes them more active and take more ownership in what they're doing. And from my perspective, and we've surveyed them before, they definitely prefer this way because it's a little bit more fun.
Awesome. All right. Well, as Ms. Garrett goes through her lesson, we're going to be talking to her, asking her some questions. Distract her even more while she's trying to teach, and we'll see how this project-based learning initiative is really helping students really understand the concept of what they're learning even more, and opens more doors of thought to them.
All right. Before we talk about why I had you all look for those things, just a few reminders. So last Friday we had our guest panel. Hopefully yesterday you took some time to kind of reflect on that, incorporate that into your project. Today we're going to finish our last piece of what we need to learn before we kind of wrap things up, which is looking at citizens and the ways that we can be involved in influencing public policy. And then tomorrow we're going to bring it all together and tie up any loose ends that we have, so after fall break we can begin recording your podcast. On that note, last week you also took a quiz Thursday. If you want to make quiz corrections, make sure you're coming to see myself or Mr. Connor during Power Hour tomorrow to do that. Otherwise, your grades are completely up to date minus your bell ringer, which is why I wanted you to look at your collaboration and agency. We're going to talk about that for just a bit. So as you all now know, the way that you're assessed throughout units is the things that you're doing daily, right? So two components of that is your collaboration, how well you're working with your group, and then agency, how well you're doing your own part. So last time we gave you those scores at the end, which I thought wasn't fair because you couldn't see where you were and make a plan to do better if you needed to do that. So yesterday, since we're kind of at the halfway point, I put in those grades as to where you are as of today. And the way I got those grades was based off that rubric that we've been looking at. So some of you might not be excited about where you're at, but the good news is you still have plenty of time to improve that grade. That grade is not permanent. I just wanted you to see, based on the rubric and the things that you've done so far, that's where you kind of fall. So today we're going to look at, okay, well, what are those ways that we're being assessed, and then what plans or goals can I make to try to do better to get even more points? So on your project packet that you all got at the beginning of the project, it has those rubrics, right? How you're being assessed on knowledge and thinking, how you're being assessed with oral communication, collaboration, agency. Today we're specifically going to look at the agency and collaboration so you can see why you have the grade that you currently have, and then make a plan on how to essentially score better before the end of this project, which is what I want everyone to do. All right, so we've done this before, right? Where we're essentially making goals around one of the ways that you're being assessed. So with collaboration, remember that's how well you work with your group. You're being assessed by contribution and development of ideas. For agency, your individual part, you're being assessed by actively participating. So we're going to look again as to what that means and how you get 10 points, which is what everyone wants, right? Everything's out of 10. So let's look at agency first. It's our top one. So actively participate. If you scored a 5, it says does not adequately stay focused on activity or discussion or independent time, does not manage disengagement or distraction. I don't think anybody got a 5 because by and large we stay focused, right? But if you got a 5, maybe it's because you're not doing your work and then you're just not on task like you should be. If you got a 6, it says mostly stays focused on active activity or discussion or independent time, but does not manage disengagement or distraction. Some of you fall into there because maybe you have some missing assignments. It's hard to contribute to your group if you're not learning the content, right? Maybe it's because you are off task often, you get distracted, and haven't found a way to manage that. If you scored a 7 or 8, it says mostly stays focused on the activity or independent time, is able to manage distractions and disengagement by self-regulation. That's where a lot of you fall, and that's a really good place to be. You do your work, you're on task, you can kind of self-regulate. You know if you get distracted how to correct that. Most of you are there, so if you want to get the 9 or 10, advanced, it says, is able to monitor and encourage fellow group members to minimize distractions and disengagement. So now not only are you regulating yourself, you're helping to keep your group on task as well. So maybe it's saying, hey Aiden, we're working on this right now. What are things that are distracting you that we can kind of put away to help you stay focused and get your work done? So I'm not saying that means if Aiden doesn't do his work, you're not going to get proficiency or advance. It's just help your group members to stay on task. So instead of just only managing yourself, being a leader and trying to help to get others to stay on task as well and to get their work done. Because everyone benefits when everyone is doing what they're supposed to be doing. For collaboration, it was contribution and development of ideas. A lot of you are at a 6, and again, that's completely fine, and you'll see why. It says ideas are contributed to the project and provide some development of those ideas for the podcast. So you give some ideas, but then that's really about it. For 7 and 8, it says contributes ideas to the project and spend time developing those ideas with the group. So that's like saying, Austin saying, hey, here's some ideas that I have. What are ways that we can incorporate this into this project? So instead of just throwing stuff out there, you're trying to figure out, how do we include this? Or should we include this? You're having a conversation about it. A lot of you fall there, which is good, but if you want to become a 9 or a 10 at that advanced level, you're also providing feedback and reflection on other group members. So now, instead of it just being a one-way conversation, we should include this and why. It's getting your peers' feedback as well. What are your thoughts? And having them elaborate too. So again, for many of you, you're at the 7 and 8, which is a really good place to be, but if you want those extra points, you're getting your other group members involved in this conversation. So hopefully that helps you to see where you currently fall and what you need to do to get to the next level. So what we're going to do is you're going to pick one of these that today you want to focus on. Is it agency? Do you know you get distracted and you need to work on that? And we're going to make a plan for that. Or is it collaboration? Like, I do my job, I'm on task, but maybe I need to go one step further and getting my group engaged in these conversations to get their thoughts and opinions. So you're going to circle which one that you're going to focus on today. We're just going to do one for today. Maybe it's the one that you have scored the lowest on so far. Maybe it's the one that you know you really need to work on. And then you're going to create a goal, a real, tangible goal. What is something that you can do today in class to reach the next level? So it's not, I'm going to try harder. Well, what does that look like? So maybe it's, oh, I know I get distracted by my phone, so I'm going to make sure I'm going to put it all the way up so I can stay focused. Maybe it's, I know I do a good job of contributing ideas, but I'm going to ask my group members, what's their opinions? What's their thoughts? What do they think? So think of a specific goal that you can do in class today, and you're going to write it down under my goal. And if you need help thinking of a goal, just let me know, and I can help. All right, Phil, what do you feel like you can do better with, collaboration or agency? And you can also ask your group members. They know you well now. You all been working together. They can give you some ideas too. Okay, so circle that one. So what is something that you can do to interact better with your group members? For example, maybe ask clarifying questions, like if they have an idea, if Gage is like, what about this? Then you can ask Gage more questions about that. That being a good one? Because we know Phil's a chatty Cathy, just recording what we do. So I think that'd be a good one for you. What are you thinking, Derek? Which one are you going to do? Agency or collaboration? I like that one. So why are you picking agency?
I'm lazy.
Oh, that's not true. I feel like maybe it's easy for you to get distracted. So what is something you can do to help keep you focused? Maybe if you get off topic, have rubber band on his wrist, smack it. Ben's gonna inflict pain on you. Maybe it's Ben will be like, hey, Derek, remember we're working on this? I feel like Ben's a good regulator.
Oh, yeah.
Or Cannon's right next to you, then he can nudge you. Well, no, we don't want to do that. All right, what are you thinking? Which one? Agency or collaboration? Which one? Okay. So maybe also there's times you get distracted. So what is it you think that distracts you?
Everything.
So maybe is it just gentle reminders from your group members that, hey, this is what we're supposed to be doing? Think that would help? What do you think would help?
I don't even remember. I just don't remember. Because I feel like if they told me, they could come off the wrong way.
Okay,
and
that's
I think
fair.
they're being rude.
Okay, that's fair. What about me?
Oh, yeah, I
Okay,
do.
okay. I'll be the regulator. How about that? Hey, Jackson.
So,
Okay.
Ms. Garrett, these are real world challenges. I mean, when they go to the workplace, they're going to have to figure out, how to cooperate with others, how to communicate with others. Like he said, I'm afraid to tell them because I'm afraid it may come off the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how have you seen the results of lessons change in this concept versus the normal style, the traditional way?
I think this just makes them more mindful.
Okay.
This is where I'm at. This is how I get to that next level. Because if you don't really stop and think about it and kind of create a goal, then you don't know what you're working towards. So I feel like that in itself. And we've done this before, and what I love is they are probably harder on themselves than I would ever be. And they are taking it seriously. And I think just that acknowledgement of this is where I'm at, this is where I want to be, and creating a plan to get there.
Right.
And I've seen it happen. And as we're walking around, you can hear some of these conversations, like, oh yeah, remember we're supposed to be doing this? And they're taking it seriously.
Right. I mean, they are now holding each other accountable, just like they would in the real world.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's a
it's
really
awesome.
cool thing to see.
Right. Awesome.
And sometimes we're going to work on how we
Right.
have those conversations to make sure we're coming off the right way.
understand.
But it's a learning process, and that's skills I definitely need to learn.
Right. Understand. Okay.
Yes, Austin. I like it. All right, guys. If you need a little bit more time, you'll have some in just a bit. So we're keeping this paper in front of you so you can remember, oh yeah, this is my goal. This is what I'm trying to do in class today. But for now, we're going to move on to our actual activity for the day. And it is looking at different ways that citizens can influence public policy. You all heard some examples from our guest panel last week. And then we're going to learn a few other ways today. And we're going to figure out how are we going to include this information in your project. So what I'm handing you is an article. It's actually more of like an informational text. It'll make sense in just a minute. That talks about ways that citizens can be active in their community and specifically influence public policy. So this is how it's going to work. Instead of me giving this to you and having questions to answer, you're going to underline some things and star some things as I read it aloud and you follow along. So you're going to star things that you connect to, things that maybe you've done before, things that you've thought about before, or maybe you've experienced before. We're putting a star next to those things. And then you're going to underline key points, specifically ways that citizens can influence public policy, okay? And the two prompts are on the board in case you forget. So we're underlining ways that citizens can influence policy and putting stars next to things that you connect to. Things that you've done before, or you agree with, or you've thought of before, or maybe have experienced. We good? Okay. Like I said, I will read it, but you want to follow along and underline and star as we go, okay? So everyone should be paying attention. It says civic participation and responsibility. In a democracy, the ultimate power belongs to the people. If a democracy is to work, the people must be involved. Civic participation is essential to the workings of a constitutional democracy. As voters, citizens should carefully consider their choices of governmental representatives, leaders, and judges. To do so, they must stay informed about the issue and the positions of candidates. Also, citizens must be prepared to serve on juries so that the right to a fair and impartial trial can be preserved. Further, citizens must be willing to pay taxes to assure a common defense, public safety, and other essential governmental services. Beyond these basics, a citizen should do much more. A citizen needs to understand constitutional principles, debate their meaning, and be prepared to defend them. Citizens need to know how to participate in the political processes of government so they can influence public policy. Our federal system offers many opportunities to do so. Citizens can attend political and governmental meetings such as those of the state legislature or city council. Citizens can contact and express their views to elected officials. Citizens can write letters to representatives or to newspapers on issues of public policy. Citizens can also work with other political campaigns to circulate petitions, demonstrate, picket, or boycott to make their voices heard. These kinds of actions have brought great changes to America over the years. Such actions won women the right to vote during the suffrage campaigns and helped achieve greater equality for African Americans and other minority groups during the civil rights movement. Citizens can also decide to take a leadership role in public affairs. One way is to run for office. Another is to serve on one of the many commissions, boards, and grand juries at every level of government. Citizens can also devote their lives to public service as governmental workers, police officers, teachers, firefighters, judges, prosecutors, and public defenders. Participation in civil society. Participation in government and the political processes, though crucial to the health of a democratic republic, is not the only way to demonstrate effective citizenship. Many argue that citizens owe a commitment to the betterment of their communities by direct action. There are many ways to participate. Joining and participating in community organizations such as service clubs, church groups, or charity leagues bring community members together to form bonds, discuss common interests, and address community problems. Each year, millions of Americans volunteer their time to help solve community problems and address community needs. People volunteer for community cleanups, to visit nursing homes, to build shelters for the homeless, to feed the hungry, and to mentor and teach reading to children. Millions of Americans also participate in fundraising activities and give money to charities. While these actions do not necessarily involve political participation, they do help create a much better society and a healthier country. So we're going to take about 2 more minutes silently on your own. You are underlining key points, ways that citizens can influence public policy. Don't worry about what your neighbor is underlining. You all might underline different things. That's completely okay. And then you're putting a star next to things that you connect to. Maybe things you've done before, thought about before, or maybe things that you agree with. So we're underlining and starring. So another minute or so quietly on your own, and soon you will have time to discuss.
Garrett, what makes this lesson so important? What, as they, they're getting ready to go out and vote here in probably 2 or 3 years. What makes learning about this right at this point so important to them?
For me, it's for them to see that even now as teenagers, there's things that they can do to be engaged as a citizen. Just being informed and knowing what's going on and understand how it works. So when we had our guest panel Friday, that was the biggest thing that even our policymakers said. It's not when you get old, these are things that you can start doing now. So just helping them to hopefully make those connections.
Right. I mean, when they call a legislator, they're going to listen to them, even though they're 15 years old, just like they would me, who's not 15.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right.
Right. So, all right. And, awesome.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that's why I love this class so much, is for help them to see now these things matter, impact them, and it's something that they need to understand now.
Right.
All right, guys, you all know the drill. So, in just a minute, each group member is going to have 1 minute to share either one thing that they underlined or one thing that they starred. So pay attention so you know what you're talking about. You're going to read the thing you either underlined or starred and explain why you did that. Why did you underline it? Why did you think that was a way citizens can influence policy? Or if you put a star next to it and you made a connection, explain how or why. We're going to elaborate. All right, so with the talking stick, what should you have in your hand if it's your turn to talk? If you don't have the talking stick, what should you not be doing? Talking, right? So you should be listening, Trace. So only one person in the group is going to share, right, for 1 minute. If you're done before that minute is over, we're just going to hang tight quietly till it's the next person's turn, okay?
Ms. Garrett, why is the talking stick so important?
Because it alerts them who should be talking. And I love this because so oftentimes in group work, maybe one person kind of overpowers the conversation. And sometimes other students like that, so they don't have to say anything.
Right.
So this forces them to everyone to say something, and it helps me to see, to make sure everyone's being engaged in it.
Right.
That was something I learned very quickly the first time I did it without a talking stick. I didn't know who was supposed to be talking.
Right. Again, bringing students out of their shell.
Yes.
Forcing them out of their shell.
Yes.
Which is a good thing.
And what makes it easier for them is they love to hold something.
Awesome.
It makes
Just like
it
me.
easier.
I've got this marker.
Yes. All right. Go ahead and pass it to the next person. See if I can figure out what I'm doing again. All right, you all get a minute, 4 seconds. That's what you wanted, Fisher, wasn't it? More time. All right, pass it on to our next person. What you got, Trace?
Underlined citizens can write letters to representatives or to newspapers on issues of public policy, so they can speak their mind and get out what they think and what they want to get to tell people.
I think it's a great point.
And then underlined citizens can also devote their lives to public services and governmental workers, police, officers, teachers, firefighters, judges, prosecutors, and public defenders. And I don't know, I just thought that was kind of meaningful.
Yes.
So I kind of underlined it.
I agree. I think those were very good points. That's pretty cool, Aiden. All right, next person.
So, Ms. Garrett, if my goal at the beginning of class, when you gave them a choice of goal, was collaboration, I need to be using this minute to really talk and share my thoughts, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. This is their time to shine to really achieve their goal.
Right.
I agree. Right, Aiden? All right, what's your point, bud? What did you star underline? What was the something? It's a good something. I like it. It's one I agree with. Citizens can also decide to take a leadership role in public affairs, which is a way that we can influence policy, right? Do you remember any of our panel members talking about that on Friday? I'm making you remember a few days. They did. Those were great. That was a great example of ways they talked about influencing policy, is to be the one doing it, right? It's a great way to influence. All right, has everyone had a chance to share? Do we do it 4 times? Okay, last part. And remember what goal you picked, right? Make sure we're actively trying to achieve our goal using our game plan. So as a group, you've heard different ways that citizens can influence policy. You all probably shared different things you underline. As a group, you need to pick 3 that you feel like are the most effective ways that citizens can influence public policy and write that list on the back of your paper. Everyone should have the same list. So now we're just going to actively discuss which 3 do you think are the most effective ways citizens can influence policy? What do y'all think?
That's the ones we underlined.
Yes. Those are the ones that you underline. Thank you, Cannon.
Taking part in petitions.
Civil rights movement. I was
Taking part in petitions and civil rights authority.
See, it's a good one.
What y'all thinking?
I was thinking, definitely the representatives, because the guy that was here.
Yes.
Governmental meetings.
So we just take away, like, underline.
Yep. Yep, a list of 3. So decide collectively as a group which one do you think are the most effective ways. Yes, sir. You can. You don't need to do the help passes. You're good.
Ms. Garrett, they have to work together now. I mean, now that they have to prove that they were listening.
Exactly right.
Right.
You're
So-
exactly right, because they should have heard probably 3 to 4. Now decide out of those which 3 do we think are the most effective. And for maybe the ones who didn't do that, they know, okay, well now I need to jump in and know what we're talking about,
Right.
so I can contribute some ways too.
Because you are, I know you're just going around, but you as a teacher, you have the instinct to know who's listening, who's participating, who's giving their best towards this, and that's where they get those grades. So you talked about being a class.
You're exactly right, and I remind them of that as well. What they do daily, they're being assessed, and I even have a spreadsheet where I'm making notes as well, both good and bad. Or maybe they were a little distracted today, and it's not to penalize them, but to help them recognize and acknowledge that
Right.
this is where you're at, and if this is where you want to be, this is what you need to do.
Right.
So,
Right.
and as a teacher, I found that was the most important thing for me to do, is to document that for not only myself but for the student too. So that way it is a fair assessment.
Right.
We can see why that is that.
Because in the real world, my boss is watching, and my paycheck will depend on that.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. All right, which ones y'all pick?
The citizens who write letters to representatives.
Yes.
Or to newsletters on issues of public policy.
And then we did citizens should be careful considering the choosing of government representatives and judges.
I like that one. Why'd you all pick that one?
Huh?
Why'd you all pick that one? I like it.
Use like Joe Biden and Trump as an example.
Yeah.
And who's going to run our government? and who's
Yes.
not.
Their ideas are very different, right? So who those people are will have a huge impact on what policies are passed. I agree. Very good. All right, Gage, what y'all got?
We put attend policy meetings.
Political.
Yes, I know what you mean.
Yeah, and then 2 is run for office or attend or take a leadership role.
Yep.
And 3 is devote lives to
Public service. Perfect.
As you can see, the face of the classroom is changing. We know that to be successful, for students to be successful in real world activities, they have to start thinking in the classroom about projects just like they would in the workplace. And so Mrs. Garrett, even in social studies, in the political process, she's putting together, she has them in this project-based learning, in this project-based mode, for them to understand that this is exactly how they're going to have to collaborate, using our work ethic standards, our grade 8 standards, to flourish here in the classroom, so that when they walk across that stage in their senior year and then into the real world, whether that be in the university setting, college setting, or in the vocational setting, that they're going to have to use these skills that they learned in her class and all the classes in our district to flourish. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it.